Hey guys, welcome back. Uh, this is technically the very first session into our Python programming series. In this series, I'm just going to go ahead and give you a quick brief overview of Python. And just to keep in check, what are we covering, what we need to cover, I will be making use of the two existing websites out there. So on my left hand side of the screen, I'm using the pretty famous W3 Schools. So we will be following the W3 Schools just to make sure I'm covering all the topics. And at the same time, on my right hand side, I'm using another website by name Tutorials Point. Again, pretty good website. I strongly encourage you to take a look at both the website. Both the website has ton of information and resources that you may find pretty useful during this Python journey. And again, as I said, I will be keeping these two sites as a handy reference just to go through, make sure we are covering all the topics, and pretty much just go from there. So if I just take a look on the W3 school, if somebody says, okay, hey, what is the Python? It pretty much says, okay, hey, Python is a popular programming language. We know that, and that's the reason you are here and you are interested in learning the Python. Same I was multiple years back. But if I look at a few further down, few lines, it says, okay, in the 91, Guido Van Rossum was the one who kind of really created this. So mostly it's used for system scripting, mathematics, software development, web development, and now there are many more use cases. You can do any kind of a data science. When it comes to data science, Python seems to be a very popular language. When you need to do some kind of automation, it seems to be a pretty popular language, and a lot of the automation that is being done in the industry. And if you just go and take a look at quick job portals, there is a huge demand of the automation, especially if you know the Python very well. But if I come on the right hand side on the tutorials point, it has a pretty nice, much more detailed explanation. And just to reiterate one more time, the Python version that we will be working in this series is Python 3.x. So you can see on the top, it clearly says, okay, hey, the Python 3 overview. So again, just to quickly go through some of the things, Python is a high level. We know interpreted, interactive, and object-oriented language that we will be looking throughout this particular course. One of the very important thing I personally like about the Python, it's kind of, okay, here it says clearly, it uses English keyword. So that means most of the time, okay, hey, I want to do this. Is it greater than? Is it less than? I want to repeat something for X number of time. So it's pretty much like English, like a keyword. It's not like a special syntax that you need to memorize. A lot of things are very simple. At the same time, if you take a look here, it says the Python is interpreted. So that means Python is processed at runtime by the interpreter. If you work with like C or C++, before you can really go ahead and start running your program, the compiler will go ahead and it will compile all the code. If there is any problem, if there is any syntax error, it'll find you, and unless you go ahead and fix that, you cannot compile that program. But that's not the case with the Python. It's interpreted. So unless, let's say, if you wrote some code which is bad, and if you never encounter the condition to execute that code, that error may still be there for ages and nobody will discover. So we will go ahead and see all these things in action later on. But Python is pretty much as an interpreted language here. Python is, again, it's a pretty interactive. In the last session or the first session, I showed you how do you really go to the Python shell or the Python interactive prompt, and you can go ahead and do some of the stuff there. At the same time, Python is object oriented. So if you work with some of the other object-oriented language like C++, Python also has a pretty strong support for the object-oriented, and we will go ahead and take a look at some of these things. But at the same time, Python has so many features, it's very powerful, but at the same time, it's a beginner's language. And one of the reason that I feel it's a beginner's language that we discussed earlier, because it uses English like a keyword. So it's very easy to understand, very easy to learn. And again, I will not go through some of this history. That's the reason I pointed these two websites as your handy reference. You can go ahead and read some of these things in more detail that you may find handy or a reference during some of the time of the interviews. People tend to ask, okay, hey, when was this created? Who was the creator? And few more things. If I come back on my left hand side, again, if I can take a look here, what can Python do? We know pretty well Python can do a lot of things. Python can connect to the database system. Yeah, so you can write a program that can connect to your Postgres, that can connect to your MongoDB, pretty much any database that's out there. You can go ahead and connect that, and you can read and write anything. Python can be used to handle big data, perform complex mathematics. So when it comes to data science, that's one of the definitely pretty popular out there. Again, Python can be run on different platforms, Windows, Mac, Linux. So in this case, for our series, I am running Windows on my Mac, and on top of that, we had installed the Python that we'll be using. And at the same time, I am running a Linux system also on my Mac, and I will be showing you how to do that. So that means pretty much you can install Python on a lot of different variety of operating system. Again, Python has syntax that allows developers to write programs with fewer lines. Definitely because of its, there are a lot of libraries out there. You can go ahead and make use of that. And again, the version that we'll be using is Python 3. If you are reading some of the documentation, make sure the documentation or the syntax that you follow is for Python 3. There is quite a bit of difference between Python 2 and Python 3. Again, if I come back onto the right hand side, if I quickly take a look at some of the Python's feature, again, pretty easy to learn. Okay, it's easy to read, easy to maintain, interactive mode, it's portable, it's extendable, database support. There is a UI programming also support is there, and it's very scalable. And these are some of the examples. Again, if I jump back on my left hand side again, if I scroll down further, compared to some of the other programming languages, Python were designed for readability and has some similarity to the English language. So just in short, I want to keep this very small. The Python is really some of the things that we'll be working with, and some of the features. It's very popular because the English-like syntax has strong support for the object-oriented database support and different platforms. So again, thank you so much. And just for the reference again, I will be referencing these two websites pretty often during the series just to keep balance in check. Okay, hey, have we covered this topic or not? Are we covering enough material? And once we do hands-on, I will be showing you some of the examples that you may or may not find on these websites. So, but do keep checking these websites. They have a lot of information. I strongly recommend you to use both the website and keep both them handy. One is w3skills.com, another is tutorials point, and definitely go ahead and take a look at the Python overview. Thank you, and I will see you in the next session of our series.